Hey everyone, thank you for joining me. I am a guy called Joe. This is Bootstrapping.Tools, and we are in a Let's Build Together series specifically for building a DataStudio dashboard report from scratch for our website. Up on the screen here, we have a very basic kind of just getting started with DataStudio. If you don't know what DataStudio is, it's a business intelligence tool, or BI tool for short. It's all the rage nowadays. It's been the rage for a while. It's really helpful. It basically just takes a beautiful UI and lays it on top of any data set that you have, whether that's a data warehouse, some spreadsheets you want to combine to, Google Analytics, Search Console, YouTube Analytics, Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever the case. It just lays on top of your existing data and then lets you create beautiful reports of it. So we have this guy. This is just super bare bone, very basic, gets you up and running. We'll have a link to this in the description for anybody who's interested in taking a look at that. And we also had a starter series guide that will walk you through creating one and all the different basic kind of components and features of it, just as adding data sources and all of that. So in the last part, we did website analytics, and this is connected to DataStudio, the Google Analytics, so that we can see what the website stats looks like. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to add in Search Console. So that's like the Google search results. Search terms, what are people searching for? How's your website rank for it? What kind of queries or search terms does it show up for? All that. It's really good to understand that data so that you can grow your organic traffic, which organic is how people will naturally or organically find your website and your content. That's like as opposed to paid advertising, which is your Facebook ads and your Google ads and your Instagram ads, YouTube ads, any of that stuff. So here, just to quickly review, what we did here was we connected the data source, and then we made it so that as you go through everything, you can filter by the in-market segment, which Google Analytics gives you. You can filter by the date range. You can click on specific dates so that you can see what happened on that specific date. We can click on multiple things at once so that you can kind of filter everything at the same time. And the entire report will just dynamically update with you for it. Let's actually clear some of this, and we'll go over to the edit screen. So what we want to do today is we're going to add in a Search Console. And so to do that, you can add in page. That way you don't have to take up all the page on the page one. And what we'll do here is actually, let's rename that over to, let's call this website stats. And then page 2, we'll call this Search Console stats. So Search Console, what you could do is you could go in here, you can just add a bunch of charts, right? We can start off with the table, and then just select which data source that we want. We actually already connected our Search Console data, but if you need to connect a new data source, up here there's a little add data button. Click on that, the tray will pop up, and you can just choose the option for Search Console from here. When you click on that, it'll only show you which ones you have access to. But we already did that, so you don't need to go through that process. If you do have any issues with connecting your data source, feel free to leave a comment in the section below, and we'll respond. We'll try to help you out there. So don't be shy. But so what we'll do is, let me just show you what this data set looks like right now. So this is the regular Search Console. This is broken down by Google property right now, and you can select it from here, the dimensions. And we don't want the Google property. What we want is this one is based on query. So you can select that. Site CTR, probably not. We want clicks, probably want impressions. Then maybe average position. And then now you have different queries. You can see how each query works to your benefit. So you can do this, you can create a bunch of tables here and then do it from scratch. Or if you watch the previous video when we were doing page 1, the website stats over here, then you know that we can use the explore option, which let's actually do that, because beta features are always nice and fun. So let's click on the icon, go back to the home. This is the DataStudio home area. So this is the website analytics dashboard that we did the other day. what we'll do is we'll create a new Explorer, and then we'll select those options here. So we have a couple of different ones. We have a site web and a URL web. We're actually going to want both, because the site one gives you the query, and then the URL will give you the page. That way you can understand not just what people are searching for in terms of search terms, but you'll be able to also see which pages of yours are ranking better. And then if one page is ranking better than the other page, then you can take a look at that structure. There's like a whole best practices for SEO thing, where you need to make sure that when the Google bot crawls your page, everything makes sense. The H1s, H2s, H3s, just to like section off, and there's also like a specific structure, but we'll get into that another day. For now, just know that when you're reporting on it, you'll be able to see, as long as you connect both types of data sources and then adjust your report to do such. So here, just like what we did before, this one is Google property by default, so we're going to do query, and then we have clicks here. We're going to do average position, and then as well as impressions. And while we're at it, we might as well order this in a way that makes a little bit more sense. So you can say average position to impressions to clicks, because then what happens here is, when you think about it, right, the average position is where your website or your site will show up in that query. So if someone searches for one of these, that's the position that you typically show up for. And then the impressions is how many times you show up, and then the clicks is how many people, how many times people click on your site, that result. So we have that. Let's add in another one, just like last time. Let's add in a table. Let's do, instead of that one, maybe what we'll want is a line chart, perhaps. So let's do line chart here. And then it's got Google property, but we don't want that. We want date. So we'll want clicks. We'll want impressions. And then it's kind of hard to visualize the average position. Here, let me show you. When you're on the same exact line chart, but what you could do is you go over to style, and you scroll down. Let me actually minimize this. You scroll down over to, this is series 3. So what you can do is you can show the axis on the other side. And that way you can see the position there as it goes up and down. That could get confusing. Typically, I'm not a big fan of doing something like that, so let's just remove it. Here we go. Remove that, and then now we have clicks versus impressions. And this is essentially, since there's such a big difference, maybe it'll be better to move them closer together, but that's okay. We can just leave it like this right now. This is clearly this website is showing a lot for impressions, but then there's not so many clicks. So perhaps the person, this something you can do to help with that would be changing the page titles to make them more user-friendly, kind of entice the searcher to click on yours versus another. But okay, so we have this now. It doesn't need to be this big. We can put this here. We can probably adjust the spacing here some other time, but while we're here, let's remove the numbers, the row numbers, because that's taking up room, and we don't need all of that since it tells us the total number of queries anyway at the bottom. So actually, tab feature, if you want to use the tab feature, you can, up to you, and then you can change the data source for it. So for us, we want to also do the URL one, which, like I said before, will give you landing pages. So instead of Google property, we go to landing page, and then you can also see the query here, just if you want to break that down even further, right? Which page, which query did it show up for, and all that. So we have URL clicks, we have impressions, and then the difference with this data set is that you don't get average position, but that's okay. What we can do later is we'll blend the data so that we are mapping from query to landing page to average position for that. So that'll give us a good indication on like how each page is doing in rank and everything like that. So okay, so we have impressions, we have URL clicks, queries. This all looks pretty good to me. Let's add in a new time series, line chart. Look at another line chart here. And then, so we want not by landing page, you want it by date. So I'll do all of that. I don't think we need these two. Yeah, doesn't make a difference. So we have URL clicks and then impressions. So very similar situation as expected on the other side when we did it before. Just makes sense. So everything looks about to be the same, which is good. That's that means that the two are, you know, data-wise matched up. Okay, so what we since we already have the chart that shows clicks versus impressions, instead of doing this, what we might want to do instead is actually perhaps device category. So we do this and then let's see what that looks like. Chain up by date. No, right. Okay, so what I want to do is not a line chart because we already have that. We're going to separate this out. Perhaps a pie chart, since we don't have too many different categories right now. We can, yeah, 3 is fine. If you have more than 5, it gets really messy. I personally believe in 3, and then it gets messy. So we can do this, and then we can add in another pie chart here. And we'll rearrange this in a bit so that it looks prettier, but let's see. So this is doing landing page. We don't want that, that's too many. So we have Google property, and that's all web because this is the data that we're using. So actually, let's see. What else can we do with this data? Let's explore it. So we have landing pages. We don't care about that at this moment. By country, perhaps. So if we're actually going to do it by country, perhaps what we can do is we can change this chart to be a map. Yeah, that might be better. There's a couple of different map types here: filled map, a bubble chart, a bubble map, geo chart. But there's different ones that you can do. So let's actually make this guy a little smaller. Let's rearrange it so that we get some more map room here. So we'll make you smaller, then make you wider. I actually need to refresh the page real quick. Everything looks a little wonky right now. Probably a DataStudio issue, but that's okay. Here, I'll tell you what. Let's just save this for now. Search console. We'll save this, and then we'll refresh the page. Yeah, with all these tools out there, you know, things can get a little weird and wonky when you're updating because it uses, I guess, a canvas. That's okay. We can just rearrange all of it. Okay, so this looks better. And then when we go here, this guy, click on this, and let's make this smaller. Okay, great. That looks better. So we'll make our map bigger because maps are fun. Here, let's make this bigger because this is a list. This guy doesn't need to be so large. I can bring him down a little bit. Okay. Doesn't look too bad. Okay, actually, why don't we try a donut chart? Why not? Why not? Mix it up, right? Okay, so this chart, so we have, which one did we choose? We choose the geo chart. So we have the fill chart, it'll look like this. It's kind of nice too. Or we can have the bubble chart, which will look like this. This is also kind of nice. But let's go with the geo chart for now. Because this is kind of nice. It's got like a scale that's set, and you can't really make that any larger. It doesn't look funny. Whereas, you know, if you go to the bubble map, right, you got 2 North Americas, just because you have to be so zoomed out for everything. And then the only way you'd have to, the only way you can make it look a little better is by shrinking this size of it. But we want it to be about this large, so let's keep it here, and then we'll bring it back to a geo chart. And then what we'll do is, so geo dimension, country, I think that sounds good. Metrics, we can do, let's do some options. So we can do with impressions, and then we can also do clicks and let the user kind of select which one they want to use here. So what they do there is actually they click between this one of the two. They can see what the differences are. There should be a correlation, impressions to clicks. Usually there is, but who knows? Maybe there isn't. That's up to you to analyze your data and figure it out. But okay, so we have what we need here. Can actually, I guess this guy, what happened here? That's fine. It always messes up. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to share this. So last time we did this, we shared it to a new report. We're going to copy this to an existing report. So I'm going to say copy. And then, so I think, I don't know if you guys saw that, but copy to existing report and share. And then on the bottom right, it's like components copied. I hope this works. It's supposed to do something else, I'm pretty sure. But let's open this, the home page, back to a new tab, go back to reports, website analytics dashboard, the one that we were working on before. Go here. Well, let us paste. There we go, perfect. Okay, so I just hit a Command V or Control V for those who are on a PC, and then it just pasted everything. And then we can actually make this a little prettier. So let's do that. That looks pretty good. And we'll go back to the search console. Let's go over to tab 2 over here. And then before we copy it over, let's get rid of the row number. We don't need that. Here are the row numbers. That looks pretty good. We have pages and then queries, URL clicks, impressions. That's fine. Let's just go ahead and copy this over. So components are copied. Go over to our analytics dashboard. Hit the paste button, and now all this is going to show up. So what we'll do is we'll just have to rearrange this a little bit, make it neater. So not bad at all right now. Looking pretty good. So one thing you might notice is that because we have two tables, there's a lot of room being taken up, especially for when the data is so similar. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take these and try to make one table out of it. And that's where blended data becomes really helpful. Let me move myself down a little bit. So well, let's do this. Let's move you. I said let's move you. I said let's move you. Oh my God. Come on. You can move? Okay, there. Let's move you out of the way. I'm going to keep you for now. Make you full width. Delete you out of here. We'll worry about how we're going to style that later. But okay, so now we have this. It's only one data set at the moment, right? And if we click in, we don't have any blended data sets yet. What we do want to do is we want to blend data. So what we'll do is we'll hit the blend data option. Tray pops up from the bottom, and then you can choose which data source to blend together. So this one is going to be the site instead of the URL. So click on that. Click on a data source. It's just loading. Okay, up. And then we'll click on search site web, which will be pretty similar between the two. So landing page is not something that we can use because landing page is only on one of them. So we can add that as a, not a metric, as a dimension. But then we're going to use date because the dates will be the same. Device category will be the same. Google property will be the same. And then it all lines up really, really nicely. Country, let's not forget about country. So country is also available. So we have URL clicks and impressions already versus the average position clicks and all of that. So actually we don't need it on both sides. I think the important thing is that we have landing page over here. So we can actually get rid of it. That way we don't have two of those metrics showing up. So we'll bring in average position as, as a metric. Same thing for clicks. Impressions, and then also site CTR. Why not? Might as well add it since it's there. So let me move my bubble. So over here, you see all the data that's going to be available when you save this. We have the query, device category, Google property, country, landing page, date, clicks, impressions, hours, position, and sites click-through rates. That looks pretty good to me. Date range is auto. We can leave that. That all looks good to me. Okay, so we'll hit save. And now we have blended data. It's gonna load up, and then let me just edit this. Instead of calling it blended data, we'll call this search console site and URL. And we'll hit the save button. Okay, great. And then if we look at it, still called, there we go. And it's updated the name, so that way it's pretty clear to find. If you ever need to manage all of your blended data, if you go over to resources in your main menu bar, you're gonna see manage blended data. When you click on that, thing pops up, and you can edit all of the various data, blended data sets that you have. So now that we have this blended data set, we don't need all of this stuff. We had mentioned before, device, we don't really care too much about. Google property, we don't care too much. Country is going to be defined in the map, so we don't need it in this table. We want query, landing page, and I'd say even date we don't need so much because the date we're going to use the controller for. So we'll get rid of that as well. So now we have query, landing page, clicks. We probably don't need the site click-through rate either, and that's actually summing up right now, which we don't want. What we want is average maybe the best one? That looks about right. So impressions 145, clicks 68, click-through rate being 50%. I think that makes sense. That's good maths. Good mathing, I think. Yes, okay, yeah, that works, but we don't care about it. So we're gonna just go bloop, goodbye, and then give us back some of that real estate over here in the table. And then hours position, that's pretty long. We don't need to do that, and it's not supposed to be sum, should be average. And then we'll do average pause. And we'll put a period, why not? That looks better. Impressions, don't need to be the whole word either. You can just do impar, I guess you can call it, but that's fine. And then clicks, that makes sense. So now we can, actually before we do that, let's rearrange this a little bit so that it makes more sense to the viewer or the reader. You're reading left to right, that's always good. Query to the landing page. You can do this interchangeably up to whatever you want. Personally, for me, since the landing page is kind of long, I do like to go from long to short. So you can have the landing page and then you can have the query. So this is actually could be a little wider. That would be helpful so you can see exactly which page it is. So what we'll do is make this a little bit wider. And then what we'll do is let's actually make this a little bit shorter. We'll bring this guy over. This chart doesn't need to be so tall. We just need to be able to see that there's a difference between the two. So we can leave that there. Let's move this guy up. The map actually needs to be pretty tall. So we'll leave it at that height. But we just want to make this prettier overall. So I'll make this full width. That way we get all this real estate back. And then we can start. Whoop. That's not what I wanted. I want to move this. Okay, great. So now your page versus your queries have a lot of room to breathe, whereas the things that don't need as much room, your clicks, your impressions, and your average position stats don't need as much width to display the results there. Okay, much better. And then now this gives this a little bit more room to breathe. Can probably put this over here. The map we'll want to keep about this size. Maybe we can shrink it a little bit. A bit of width, some height. And now we have this this guy, which I guess we can just keep. Where should we put this? Maybe down here. Excuse me. Yeah, maybe down here. And we can give this a little bit more height. Actually, before we settle on this, there's a couple of things that we do need to add here. Anyway, we need to add in the date range again, just because that's something that's going to be consistent across the board. So let's go back over to page 1, and then once we're here, these two, in market segment and then the date, let's select both of those, and you can do that by holding down the shift key. So when you select one, hold down the shift key and then click on the other component, and then you'll select both. And what we're going to want to do here is because we want this to be a component that goes across everything, we're going to right click and then go to make report level. So right now it's on page level. When we make it a report level, it should affect the dates on both pages. So now that it's there, when we go to page 2, there it is. This should also appear. So that means we're going to want to decrease the size of some of this stuff over here. So actually, now that I'm thinking about it, now that we have this here, let's rearrange this a little bit. Put the map over here. We'll put our line chart underneath it. And then this is actually not that pretty at this point. So instead of doing a donut chart, let's do a column chart. And then actually maybe a stacked bar chart instead. 100% stacked bar chart. And then we won't do dates because we don't care about that. We don't care about landing pages. What's this look like? Looks like that right now. I want it stacked. There. Okay. So I'm just gonna go and click some impressions. Maybe instead we do it like this. There. Now if I landing page. So let me think about this. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to have this, but I want to have it as a bar. What then is a bar? How would that look? It's separated out right now, so it's not the device category that we want, right? We want... No, there is. Could we do it like this? Maybe there's another chart we should be using. Not that one. What's the best way? I'm gonna do it by date. I don't care about that. I guess we can do that. A little different from what I wanted to do. Oh, we don't want the click-through rate. Hold up. On URL clicks. And that becomes really tiny. So we can actually style that. Let's go to styles over here. I'm gonna remove the chart header, just a little bit of that real estate back, and then maybe we don't need the legend, maybe. Yeah, let's just keep the legend on top for now. What I want to do is provide some more, or rather less padding on the sides of it. So where's this chart alignment, max lines? That's the legend though. Border shadow. Font size. I'll make it a little smaller, but do we care? No, we don't. Tick, min, title, direction. No, we want that. Okay, so we have URL click. So now what we can do then is we can remove the legends. So you have clicks. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad. Hold that thought. Let's get rid of this. Hold that thought for now. So what we might actually want to do is let's fix this guy. Maybe that's too wide. So this is also one of the things as you're designing your report, you're probably going to come into like a few different things that you might want to change. Such as okay, so this is full width, this is full width. That looks good. We go over back to page 2. That changes up here. What do we want here? Does this map need to be so large? Perhaps not. We want some high level stats too, so clicks and impressions. What we'll do here is we will add in a chart. We'll add in a scorecard, or actually there's two scorecards, scorecard versus scorecard with compact numbers. So let's use this one for now. So, oh great, already uses clicks. Awesome. So we'll take clicks and then we'll take impressions. Not bad. And then perhaps we can fit in one more. For average position. And then we'll rename all these so that they fit a little better. Just like we did on the chart. Good overlap there. Okay, cool. So this looks good. We'll make this full height. And then we'll arrange the styling of it so everything is dead centered. And then from the top, let's just center it out 24. Maybe one more there. Okay, cool. We'll go to background, we'll go to a white background. Okay, let's see what, oh, that needs to be full width. Okay. Much better. So let's view this. How's this look? Looks pretty good. Not bad. All right. Not bad for, I don't know, about 20 minutes of work, 30 minutes of work, something like that. So we can actually click on things and it changes some things, but not everything. So this is good. You got like a pretty decent working chart. Your clicks, your high level metrics are changing as you click on things. It's good so you can see it day by day. Depending on like how you want to view things, you might want to do it on a week by week level, really up to you. This actually, because these numbers are a bit wide, what we could do is let's make this size a little bit bigger so that the numbers come out a little bit more clearly. And then we'll have that little white space up there, but that's okay. We can adjust that later. So looks good. Let's just see this one more time. Yeah, not bad. Okay. All right, looks good. The only thing, if you noticed before, when you click on this, nothing happens. Whereas when you click on the other things, that things do happen. And then this one only really affects itself. So let's go ahead and edit that and see how we can change that. So click on this, scroll down, apply filter, that should work. And then this table also, apply filter is set, but because it's on a different data set, it's not going to change everything. So this one, let's change this over to our combined data set, and then we'll clean up if we need to. This looks good though. This one to the blended data, it's still at impressions, and we have to add the optional, which was clicks. And do we have anything else we wanted to do? No, that's fine. And then these three, we can actually select all of them since we know they're doing the same thing. Select the blended data. So reset some of it. Let's click on this, say impress, and then average position. We'll do average position. Actually, no, just pause. And then we'll make sure this is average. Cool. Okay. And then this one as well. This is, once you have it all in the same data set, that way when you click around, it'll naturally filter by itself. So I don't know how I fully feel about this bar chart, but that's okay. We'll leave it there for now. We can always change it later. So this is looking pretty good. Let's test this out. We click on desktop. Everything should filter. Great. And then if we do it by date, so now we have the date and the desktop filtered down. We can also do it by country. And then if you want to remove some of these, you just click on it again, and it'll show everything else. You're gonna should click on this, and then it'll show you everything there. Nice. Yeah, so now we have an interactive dashboard that includes both our website stats as well as our search console stats. And this is just a nice way for you to be able to see your stats, your important stats for your website, and help you decide on how you want to grow and all that. So what we'll do is let's reset the selections. That's that nice reset button up top. So now this is 28 days. We can change that to 14. See what that looks like. So now April 18th to May 1st, this is all 14 days of data. We go over here, since it's the same component, you're also looking at 14 days worth of data. That way you can tell people, you can do that story seamlessly as you go from page to page. This looks pretty good, I'd say. It's not the prettiest at the moment, so I guess let's, yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and add a little bit of a color here. So we did a gray color scheme in this one. We can keep that just to, be consistent. Sure, people who have a much more better eye for design and color, as opposed to me, will be able to make this better looking than I can. So we actually did the metrics at that time. So let's click on all 4 of these, and then we'll change the background color to be that light gray, which is similar. And then we remember we have that little gray area over here, so we can just add a little rectangle to fill in the spot. And we'll make this that same grayish color. And then let's actually set the order to the back so that it doesn't block anything. And then we can kind of just make sure this whole area has that gray. Oh, no, we don't want to cover that. So let's just up to here. Okay, good. So now this is gray. We can leave maybe these 2 alone, perhaps. Let's give this a border though, just to make it super clear. Whoop, that's the background, not the border. Okay, so let's make that a little smaller so you can see the line. Touch taller, okay. Very good. And then let's actually give a little bit more real estate to this guy. We don't need that header up top. So go to styles, chart header, do not show. That looks good. We can give this chart a border so that there's a clear delineation between the table and the chart. That's looking pretty good. Okay, notice this might not be all the way to this end. Okay, how does that look? Not bad, right? So interactive, fully interactive. Click around, you can tell your story. And show stats, show what the traffic history is like, talk about the organic traffic over to the site, talk about how much you've grown. You can change the date if you want to make a point. You can say this year. Well, this year is actually pretty early, so let's say this year to date. You can do that. You can show, with the line chart what the trend is for this entire time period, and then just like a breakdown of everything, as well as where you're popular in the world, if you're looking into that. But yeah, so that is it for this video of the Let's Build series. So in the next one, we're gonna go over YouTube analytics, just because I know that YouTube is pretty popular. There's a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of people making great content on there, and it's important that you track your stats and your performance, so you can figure out how to make your YouTube videos and your titles and your tagging and all of that better. And it all starts with having proper metrics for it. If you do run into any issues, just drop a comment down below. If you have questions or anything like that, we're definitely here to help. If you like this video, please hit the like button so that other people like yourself can find this video. Hitting that like button will let YouTube know that this was a helpful video. And of course, hit the subscribe button. We're releasing more and more content day after day and week after week. If there's something that you'd like to see that you haven't seen yet, feel free to drop us a note. We're looking at all those comments, but hit the bell, make sure you get notified once we do release new content so you can follow along. We'll be doing a lot of different types of things. We have DataStudio right now. Once we're done making DataStudio reports, we'll probably move on to some tools that the community has been asking for. Perhaps that'll be Retool, perhaps that'll be App Sheets, perhaps there'll be something else. Really depends on what you guys want to see. That's it. I'm a guy called Joe. This has been Bootstrapping Tools. Let's build together, and we're out.